Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of the Dental Trade Alliance podcast brought to you by the Dental Trade Alliance. My name is Kevin Henry. I'm honored to be the host of this podcast as well as honored to be the editor in chief for drbycuspid.com. And today, so glad to welcome to the program Jay Millikin from Fluent. Hey Jay, how are you today?
I'm well, Kevin. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Glad we get a few minutes to catch up. Hey, you and I have worked together in the past. I know all about you, but our audience may not. So I want to make sure you take a moment to introduce yourself as well as let them know what Fluent is.
Absolutely. First of all, just want to, thank you again for this opportunity to talk with folks and share a little bit about Fluent and what's going on in the market. Also, thank the DTA for the same and really the value that they've added for us since 8 or 9 years ago when we really started out in this market. They were a principal partner in helping us kind of get exposure and engagement in the market and continue to be a partner. So we'll be doing webinars and a webinar again in October, probably the 23rd or 24th. I don't have the exact date yet, but over the next week or two, you'll see the marketing from both the DTA and us. Super important partner for us. That membership is key to us being successful in this market and getting access to the clients and the rest of the folks that are out there. So myself, I'm Senior VP of Sales for Fluent's what we call supplier division, which is focused on manufacturers, distributors, and other dental marketers. Um, what we do for them is help them optimize the information they have and connect it all together so they can get more complete, current, and precise views of customer, prospect, and market activity. After that, then we help them enrich their data with insights that we provide, and that enrichment is intended to be actionable insights to help them reach specific business objectives like optimizing territories, measuring performance, targeting and segmentation, planning for next year, all of the things that I think many of them have heard about from us before.
Speaking of insights, I know that you have taken a sneak peek into some of the data that is going to be released from Fluent. And I'm curious, let's just talk 30,000 foot view. Is there one or two things in there that stood out to you think might be of interest to our audience? And I'm just going to kind of give you the floor because I'm interested to hear these things as well.
Absolutely. Good. Thank you. Yes, we publish biannually a report called the Dental Market Watch. It is both a historical trend report as well as future forecasts looking forward as much as 12 months on about a dozen procedure categories, which are generally going to correlate with different product and equipment categories, sometimes more directly than others, of course. That was published actually, it went out Friday. So, we've had a few days to spend with it as a high level summary. What's going on in the market right now for US commercially insured marketplace is the patient traffic has been essentially flat over the last couple of years. It's going up a little bit, but not significantly. That said, the practices are still growing. Overall, obviously, some are and some aren't, with 180 some thousand of them out there. The way they're growing is they're providing more treatments per patient, not necessarily in the same encounter, and they're also billing more dollars per patient or per procedure. So some of that is costs rising and reimbursements and allowed amounts continuing to move up slowly. That dollar rise is more about the procedure mix. So what we're seeing is versus pre-2020, we're getting patients being offered and provided different services beyond what we've seen in the past. And there's more emphasis with GPs doing more specialty work, et cetera, on higher cost procedures to boost profitability and margins, but also, hey, can I can I get you a additional sealant or something that's smaller dollar, but it helps us multiply the value of that chair hour as they look at it. So the practices are growing, which is good news for manufacturers and distributors. They aren't necessarily growing because it's more patients walking through.
Well, it sounds like dental practices are taking advantage of the opportunities. And I know one thing that I heard so much during the, I hate to talk about the pandemic, but I think that's a real dividing point for so many things in our industry is that GPs started bringing more specialties back into their practice instead of referring out. So we're still seeing the effect of that today, you believe, correct?
That trend's continuing. Every year we see more practices billing for things like implants is a good example, right? That's increased almost double in the last 7 or 8 years, right? And that's not because there's 10,000 more oral surgeons entering the market every year, right? That's because more GPs are, taking that on as a practice growth engine and moving strategically into specialty markets.
So what's one of the biggest things as we go into the fourth quarter? I know a lot of practices, a lot of businesses start thinking about how they're going to finish strong. What's a big lesson you think that these numbers are going to provide to people to help them finish strong and for the rest of the year?
Well, I think the biggest lesson, Kevin, is that, not all categories are growing at the same rate. Not all segments are growing in the same way. So depending on where you're focused and what you're selling, you may need different information to illuminate what's actionable around your strategy and go to market, or even something as simple as, measuring performance. A couple of the key dynamics that are beyond that specialty blur is that are driving this growth, right? One of them is demographics. The demographic movement right now is just unbelievable. The pace is going to continue. We currently have about 26% of the patients in our data that are 60 or older, and that's up significantly over the last 5 or 6 years. Those folks drive about 28% of the treatment volume, so just total activity. So already even a little higher than the overall average for all age groups. When we look at periodontics, it's 42% of the patients and treatments are over 60. And when we look at implants, it's 55%, right? So more than double what should be their proportional rate of utilization for those kinds of products. And that's the kind of thing that we can help folks, look at and really understand. How's this going to impact the business? Is it useful for me to compare customer A and customer B and understand what's your percentage of patients in a certain age range? And is that going to tell me whether that customer is going to maybe grow faster than the other one or something along those lines? The other place that we talk a lot about with most of the manufacturers and distributors in the market is consolidation, specifically, DSOs. Um, there are similar disproportionate shares for groups, for example, with 50 plus locations in periodontics. They're driving much more volume around periodontics than the rest of the market. And really, that's not all of them collectively in the 50 plus size group. That's a handful of them that are really pushing that and emphasizing that and what they're doing. And similarly, in markets like implants and orthodontics, we see a little bit more of a disproportionate skew for the emerging and the middle market folks, right? So, but at the same time, it's not consistent, right? So if I've got 340 location groups that are all footprinted in the Northeast, that doesn't mean they all each have an equal opportunity for me for implants, right? So can you take and use information from folks like Fluent to be able to say A, B, and C, this group A has a much higher potential opportunity for sales for that product. They have a more achievable or convertible, easily converted opportunity. I'm going to maybe move some investment to and some energy towards this account when I'm responding to RFPs, when I'm offering special pricing, when I'm deciding whose territory or who's responsible for this from a marketing and outreach and engagement perspective. Take that to the segment level, same thing starts happening. Hey, when we can look at these things at a detailed level, maybe I move a couple people out of this team over to this team, or maybe I change where I'm spending my money from a marketing perspective in terms of that persona or focus audience so that I'm putting it where the ROI is going to be high.
That's a great point. And I want to go back to the aging point, if that's all right with you, of the patient, because one discussion that I've heard recently is also the aging of the dental team and the dentist as well, and how if those are kind of going side by side right now, and maybe we're seeing those younger dentists and dental team members that are coming in, knowing that the older patients maybe are spending more per person and trying to connect with them on that generational gap as well.
Absolutely. They are. You're dead on. I think that's where that's occurring. We're talking to dentists who are working with their local Medicare insurance agents, right? So the insurance agents that help Medicare beneficiaries choose their Medicare Advantage plans, which is where all this is centered, right? And helping them, choose the plan that gets them to their right, keep their doctor, best benefits for the prescription drugs that they have, and best dental benefit, right? All of those different dynamics come into it. So we know and know of dental practices are actually cultivating relationships with those folks to make sure that they're talking with those seniors about, do you have implant coverage? Do you have denture coverage, whatever it is that is going to make sense. And that's what's driving the growth in virtually every category in the dental market right now from a utilization perspective are the folks over 60 years old.
Jay, I know before we started the podcast, you and I were talking about how that now that we're touching on the fourth quarter, we know that it's also dental trade show season time and all the
It
places
is.
that you're going to be. But I know you and I will run into each other at the Dental Trade Alliance annual session as well. And I know that's
Absolutely.
an important time.
We will have a team there as always. And, looking forward to what I think is the best conference of the year, just in terms of the tone and what gets accomplished there. It's very, very different from, Greater New York or ADA. Those are all good conferences, but the focus is very, very different. So not only enjoy it, but extremely proud to be part of, in a very small way, what the DTA is all about and the foundation.
So whether you're going to be at ADA, DTA, Greater New York, wherever that might be, let people know if they're not going to be at
Absolutely.
one of those meetings, how they can get a hold of you and learn a little bit more as well.
So you can reach us at fluent.dental. That's probably the easiest way. If you inquire via that website, it'll get to me or one of my colleagues. So we can follow up with you. Of course, you can reach me by email at jmillikin@fluent.dental, and the J is just the initial. Um, or give me a call. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me, any place that people can be found in terms of that kind of outreach. So
Jay's definitely not hiding out there. There's no doubt about
nah,
that. So.
not at all.
Well, Jay, I mean, maybe it's the geek in me, but I love this time of year, not because cooler temperatures and the fall leaves and everything else, but I love the trends and I love the numbers and I love knowing not only what we've seen this year, but what we're looking forward to as well in 2025. And
Absolutely.
I
And
appreciate the,
now's the time.
yeah,
Now's the time to look at it. Everybody's interested in it because it's time to start thinking about, if you haven't already, what's 2025 going to look like. The nuance to working with us around issues like that is everyone has a unique business and set of products and resources that they leverage to go to market. We can help you regardless, but we need to understand what those are so we can help you not only make the data that we provide as actionable as possible, but make your own data that you already have as actionable as possible. And even, coach and at least assist in terms of best practices around how do I get as much value as I can out of both the data that I already have or I'm getting from other sources, as well as any Fluent insights.
And that's such a key point because we can all see the numbers, see the data, but it's understanding what it really means. I mean,
Right.
that's the key to it for sure.
It's academic until it helps you actually run your business better and achieve the growth or the market share gains or whatever it is that you're looking for and needing to accomplish.
Jay, we're going to make sure all the contact information's in the show notes so it's easy to find Jay and Fluent as
Terrific.
well. But Jay, looking forward to running into you on the road and looking forward to learning more
Likewise.
from you as well.
Yeah, same. Thank you, Kevin, very much. Have a great day.
Absolutely. And hey, thanks to all of you for listening to this episode of the Dental Trade Alliance podcast. We love bringing in experts to talk about the numbers, to talk about what's going to impact your business, not only for the rest of 2024, but into 2025 as well. Until next time, it's Kevin Henry, the host of the Dental Trade Alliance podcast, signing off and wishing you nothing but success ahead.